Filming begins on Gibraltar on September the 17th, 12 days before Dalton is scheduled to arrive for makeup and wardrobe tests. Bond film veterans B.J. Worth and Jake Lombard contribute to the pre-credits parachute jump.
We filmed on Gibraltar and we did a little skydiving sequence out there.
Jumping out of a Hercules was relatively straightforward. It was the landing, because it is very inhospitable terrain.
The winds were very squirrely all over the Rock of Gibraltar.
B.J. Worth and his boys had quite a tricky job.
They had us landing in places that were extremely hazardous, and actually a couple of them they were going to do with a crane and lower somebody down. And we figured we could probably do it better ourselves and much, much easier. And we ended up getting lucky. The 3 landings of the 3 00 agents, we did all in one day and just knocked them off. Boom, boom, boom.
One stunt poses problems for the filmmakers.
We were faced with a situation about the stunt with the Land Rover. We decided to go out into the Mojave Desert and take a lightweight Land Rover out there and drop it with somebody on it and see what happened.
You can't just start dropping cars out of the sky and hope that they land safely. We were planning to use a parachute so we could do take 2 with the Land Rover.
We attempted it twice, and on the second occasion the parachute that they put inside didn't open. It got wrapped around the Land Rover.
So all we got was a Land Rover that looked like it had been dropped. Well, it was dropped from 2,000 feet.
Instead of being about 6 foot high, I think it was reduced to about 4 inches. It had just flattened completely when it hit the ground.
It was an absolute disaster. It crashed down into the Mojave Desert, and there wasn't much of it left.
We then reverted to plan B, and we fired a Land Rover off of Beachy Head with an air cannon and had a radio-controlled rig inside it to release a parachute to pull a dummy out of the top of the Land Rover, and then we blew it up.
Almost 2 weeks after the second unit begins filming on Gibraltar, the first unit starts shooting with Andreas Wisniewski and stuntman Bill Weston.
Ballet training helps to execute action scenes insofar as you have a certain awareness of your body. I had a big fight with Bill Weston. During the course of these 3 days it took to film this fight, Bill fractured a finger and I knocked him out once.
The next day finds the crew on location at Stoner House, doubling for Bladen's safe house.
The first thing I actually did was me being kidnapped from the estate. I liked Timothy on the spot and we had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time together.
I'd in fact just come off doing a film called Brenda Starr in America, which I finished on the Saturday, flown to England on the Sunday, and started work on the Bond film on the Monday.
And he was completely jet-lagged. He hardly had his tuxedo on, and he had to do this scene.
Despite jet lag, Dalton throws himself into the role, especially when he joins the second unit on Gibraltar.
They sent Timothy to me, and I had a message from Cubby, and from John, and from Michael Wilson saying, don't damage him.
Very good at action, Timothy, and he was a good mover, and he was very keen to do as much of his own stunt work as possible.
When I felt that I could do and should do the action that we see in the film, I did it.
He was up on top of that Jeep. He was on the side of it. He climbed down. He did a lot of things himself.
I knew that he was strong enough. It's whether he had the courage to hang on the top of that and 1,300 feet drop down the side of the mountain.
We got him on top of the Jeep. And I said, all we want, Tim, are just some nice big close-ups of you. Oh, but I can do it. I can swing around, you know. I said, Tim, we just want some close-ups of you. We don't. And he was so keen, and he was throwing himself around. He was throwing himself off the side of the truck, and my old heart was going like this.
The producers weren't too happy, but they accepted our judgment, and he did it safely, and he did it spectacularly. And he went down the side of that hill, hanging on the top of the Jeep. Great courage.